In this section, we will learn how to set up a Raspberry Pi and connect it to a speaker and a microphone. A Raspberry Pi is a small computer that can run various operating systems and programs. We will use it to control our Talking Fish project. To set up a Raspberry Pi, we need the following items. A Raspberry Pi board. We are using the Raspberry Pi 4 Model B, which has a USB-C power port and 2 micro HDMI ports. You can use other models as well, but you may need different cables or adapters. A power supply that can provide 5 volts and 3 amps to the Raspberry Pi. We recommend using the official Raspberry Pi 4 power supply, which comes with a USB-C cable. A micro SD card with at least 16 gigabytes of storage. This will store the operating system and the files for our project. We also need a card reader to connect the micro SD card to another computer for formatting and copying files. A monitor or TV with an HDMI port. We will use this to see the output of the Raspberry Pi. We also need a micro HDMI to HDMI cable to connect the Raspberry Pi to the monitor. A keyboard and a mouse. We will use these to interact with the Raspberry Pi. You can use any USB or Bluetooth keyboard and mouse, but we recommend using the official Raspberry Pi keyboard and mouse, which are designed to work well with the Raspberry Pi. A speaker and a microphone. We will use these to make our fish talk and listen. You can use any USB or Bluetooth speaker and microphone, but we recommend using the Respeaker 2 Mics Pi Hat, which is a board that plugs into the Raspberry Pi and provides 2 microphones and a speaker output. The first step is to format the micro SD card and install the operating system on it. The operating system we will use is called Raspberry Pi OS, which is based on Linux and comes with many useful programs and tools. To format the micro SD card and install Raspberry Pi OS, we need to do the following. Insert the micro SD card into the card reader and connect it to another computer that has internet access. Download the Raspberry Pi Imager software from https://www.raspberrypi.com/software. Run the Raspberry Pi Imager software and choose Raspberry Pi OS as the operating system to write on the micro SD card. Choose the micro SD card as the destination drive and click Write. Wait for the process to finish and eject the micro SD card safely. The second step is to insert the micro SD card into the Raspberry Pi and connect all the peripherals. To do this, we need to do the following. Plug the Respeaker 2 Mics Pi Hat into the GPIO pins of the Raspberry Pi. Make sure they are aligned correctly and firmly attached. Insert the micro SD card into the slot on the back of the Raspberry Pi. Connect one end of the micro HDMI cable to one of the ports on the Raspberry Pi and the other end to the monitor or TV. Connect one end of the USB-C power cable to the power port on the Raspberry Pi and leave the other end unplugged for now. Connect your keyboard and mouse to any of the USB ports on the Raspberry Pi. If you are using Bluetooth devices, you will need to pair them later. Connect your speaker to one of the audio jacks on the Respeaker 2 Mics Pi Hat. The third step is to power on the Raspberry Pi and complete the initial setup. To do this, we need to do the following. Plug in your power supply to an outlet and connect it to your Raspberry Pi. You should see a red LED light up on your Raspberry Pi board. Turn on your monitor or TV and switch it to HDMI input. You should see a rainbow screen followed by some text messages on your screen. Wait for a few minutes until you see a welcome screen that asks you to choose your language, country, time zone, password, network, etc. Follow the instructions on screen and fill in your preferences. After completing all these steps, you should see a desktop screen with some icons and menus. Congratulations! You have successfully set up your Raspberry Pi. In this section, we learn how to set up a Raspberry Pi and connect it to a speaker and a microphone. In the next section, we will learn how to install ChatGPT on our Raspberry Pi and make our fish talk using natural language processing. In this section, we will learn how to install and use ChatGPT on the Raspberry Pi and configure it to generate speech. ChatGPT is an AI chatbot that can respond to prompts with detailed and readable responses. It can also create images, write code, songs, poetry, and more. To use ChatGPT, we need to sign up for an OpenAI account and get an API key. This key will allow us to connect to the ChatGPT service running in the cloud. We also need to install the OpenAI Python library on our Raspberry Pi. This library will make it easy to interact with the ChatGPT API from our Python code. To install the OpenAI library, we open a terminal and type the following command: pip3 install OpenAI. This will download and install the library and its dependencies. Next, we need to set up our API key as an environment variable. This will make it accessible to our Python code without exposing it in plain text. To do this, we open the bashik file hidden in our home directory with this command. nano/bashik. We scroll to the bottom of the file and add this line: export OpenAI_API_key equals skxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxxx We save the file by pressing Ctrl+X, then Y and enter. We close the terminal and open a new one for the changes to take effect. Now we are ready to write some Python code that uses ChatGPT. We create a new file called chatgpt.py with this command: nano-chatgpt.py. We paste the following code into the file: import OpenAI import pyetsx3 engine equals pyetsx3.init voices equals engine.get property voices engine.set property voices 1.id def chat prompt